back to the Adoption Squad. I am your host, Mary.
And I'm Annie.
She's back, everybody.
Hi. It's been a
It
while.
has been a long time. It's been a long time. I think the last episode we did together was the New Year's dumpster fire
Oh, right.
episode, which a lot of people were very complimentary on your embroidery skills.
Oh, well, thank you.
Have you
Yes. And
done
here we are now at the very end of January, and
great?
it itself was a dumpster fire.
Exactly.
But
I know the month of January. Wow. Yeah. Before we get started, though, I definitely want to thank the last three guests that we had: Simon Ben, Kevin Barheit, and Yael Adler, all amazing people. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to our last three episodes featuring those wonderful people, please do that. Um, and they are on our website, also theadoptionsquad.com. I made sure to put some links on how to find everybody. And I'm getting a little bit better at my um, website stuff. I don't know.
excellent.
Kind of exciting. I
Excellent.
don't know. I need something creative to do.
Right.
It's
It's
just,
a learning process.
it is definitely.
Every day of our lives is a learning
Yeah,
process. Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. Today is no different.
right.
Oh,
So,
today is
for
absolutely
sure.
no different.
Yeah.
So, I have been hogging the stories and the mic for a long time. And we did take a week off, and for good reason. I think that I'm just going to say, Annie, could you tell us about the month of January
Yes.
for you?
Yes.
Okay.
So I lost a family member and I lost my dog within the same day. It was a very, and both of them were pretty unexpected too. So my little world got rocked. And the person that I lost was my dad. And I learned a lesson, speaking of lessons, about the constant identification we go through of adopted versus bio through this process. For work purposes, I did identify him as my adopted dad because I didn't want them to find it suspicious that I had another dad. I know it sounds funny, but my biological dad died like 5 years ago, and they knew that. And now I'm coming up with, and now there's this dad who passed away, and I need bereavement days. So for that purpose, I, said he was my adopted dad. This is the dad who helped raise me. He was a sweetheart. I always kind of described him as Fred Flintstone like, but he wasn't a yeller. So he was more like Barney Rubble in Fred Flintstone's body. He was fun. He was fun. And, I've had a strained relationship with that family. So we did not have as much contact over the past several years. But the contact we did have was always positive and reinforced that we cared about each other. So it was it was really difficult for my sister. She was trying to juggle his desires at the end of life with what seemed right to make him comfortable. It was just a really difficult situation. And I was on the phone with her for several hours on the day that he passed, trying to help manage in any way I could. But then I got the text actually, that he passed in the middle of the night. So I thought, okay, this day has come, and I did not prepare myself for it at all. But I was strangely calm. I know that he had a good life. I know that he was old and struggling with multiple health issues, and I know that he was ready. Um, do I have regrets about not having certain conversations with him? A little, but I feel like we knew what each other, how we felt about each other. So, what I did have to contend with was the strained relationship with the adopted mom. But everybody was okay. I went to the funeral and everybody was okay, um, on their best behavior. I did learn from my sister that they did not want to mention me in the obituary, but she, very strong-willed person, overruled our mom and had my name put in there. Although, humorously enough, it wasn't my name; it was my last name. So I just thought that was fitting. When I read the obituary, I'm like, "Who's that?"
Well,
It's the right first name, but it's not the right last name.
where did they get the last name that they put in there?
So I think it was what happened is the funeral home was responsible for posting the obituary. They were communicating with the newspaper. I think that's how it happened, and the family wanted it after the funeral because they wanted to downplay the funeral. We didn't want to have to deal with a lot of people wanting to come, I think is what the story was. There were some family dynamics too that I won't even go into, that I'm not in the middle of. But they wanted the obituary published after the funeral.
Okay.
So my sister was trying to spell my name to this funeral director, and she said, I spelled it like 3 times. But of course, everybody's wearing masks, and she heard one name and my sister spelled a different name and it came out wrong. And I just laughed at the end because at the funeral itself, the pastor kept making a point of talking about he's survived by 3 biological children, named them, an adopted child, no name, and 2 foster children, again, no names. So I couldn't, yeah. I just sat there like, oh, I have had a strained relationship with this family. I don't know who compelled the pastor to say it that way. Whether he was directed by my adopted mom or whatever. Just like, oh, well, it's just the way it is. I chose not to be offended. I chose to just think, well, I'm going to educate that pastor at some point. But, given the jumbled dynamics of that family, I just chose to move past it. But then when the obituary came out with the wrong last name, then I just found the humor in the whole situation.
It's like a
oh
double whammy. It's
right.
a double whammy.
Right. And I'm like, well, I was identifying him as my adopted dad. But that was more for the purpose of, I got 2 dads. So,
right.
And it gets confusing for people. Like, didn't your dad die 5 years ago? Yeah. Okay. Right. At any rate, the memories that I had of him that came back were really interesting, and I'm really happy I have them. Yeah, and I shared them with my sister. There was one time when, he was always super jovial, just nothing could rock his boat. And he was always trying to talk me down. It's like, don't get your mother riled up, trying to prevent problems. Unfortunately, he was never successful because I was too stubborn, and so was she. So there was one time, though, I remember him sitting on the couch, completely dejected. And I just said, Daddy, what's wrong? And because you just never saw him like that. And he goes, nobody loves me. And I was floored. I was like, oh my goodness, this man has feelings. I must have been 8 years old at the most. And I remember just crawling into his lap and telling him, "But Daddy, I love you." And it was just a really profound memory. And there was never anything like that that happened after. I never saw him dejected again, but I'm like, I have no idea what happened in his life that day to make him be so sad. And the memory's foggy, but I do believe there were tears.
Oh,
And he was just sad. And I'm glad I was there. That we had that moment because there wasn't a whole lot of affection in the family, but for me to just be able to tell him that I loved him and not ask a whole lot of questions, that was a good memory.
oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, right? I
Ugh.
mean, I hadn't thought of that in years and years and years, but that one came rushing back. And then the other one, my sister was talking about like she got one of his shirts after he passed. She really wanted the shirt he was wearing. She's like, I know it sounds strange to people, but when you have the odor or the scent of someone, or like when my dog passed, I wanted to have his scent. I kept a blanket, just to have that scent.
Mhm.
There's something that's precious about that, or just brings back, it feels like they're still with you a little bit. So she got one of his shirts for that reason. She's like, I'm not washing this. I want to keep that scent. And I said, one of my fondest memories from childhood was we'd pile in the car and go pick him up from work because we had only one car. We'd go pick him up from work, and the scent he had on him he worked in a machine shop, and they were making like bicycle parts
Mhm.
and maybe bicycle tires too. I can't remember exactly. But the scent he carried with him into the car, I was like, oh my God, that's intoxicating. I don't know why this post-industrial scent. I mean, only in Ohio would a kid be like, that smells awesome. It's like pollution on your flesh. But it just had just a really neat odor. Not odor, scent. So that when I told my sister that, she just cracked up. She's like, I had no idea you thought that. I'm like, yeah, I'd be sitting in the back seat just taking deep breaths.
Mhm.
Like, oh my God, I love that smell.
I think that it's just what we do. We associate scents with people sometimes. So
Yeah, yeah, and
great.
memories. Like it
Yeah.
was always a good thing. Go pick up dad from work. Let's go pick up dad. Yeah, I enjoyed that. It was
Yeah.
always a happy memory. So, at any rate, so he is gone, but not forgotten. And my sister is struggling so hard because of the way that it ended. But um, we found things for me to do to help her through that. We're getting a bunch of his shirts and I'm going to transform them into these pillows and embroider them. So I'm
Hey.
like, good, give me something to do that will help you. Good, that's perfect.
Okay.
It's an action item that can help.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's comforting.
yeah, it is. It is comforting. So, in some, I wasn't prepared for this. I thought it was going to be all sorts of family drama, and there was a fair amount, and I'm still going to be some fallout, but for the most part, my relationship with the sister, thank God, it's there. That we've had our struggles, but we've laid some solid foundation
Mhm.
for communicating with each other, and she had some big insight after this occurred, and I'm just so proud of her. Like just so proud of her because she's seeing like how to move past the chaos into a more peaceful place of family relations. It was beautiful. So something good came out of this, and I hope that he's proud of her too. I'm beyond proud of her right now for her own growth. So there's that.
Yeah.
Gosh. And yeah, I got to see the Foster sisters.
Okay. And
Yep.
how long had it been since you'd seen
Oh man, decades.
it? Mm.
Decades. I'm friends with one of them on Facebook, but that was cool. That was neat
Mhm.
to see them. And yes, I am identifying them as foster sisters for the purpose of identification, you know. Um, yeah. So that's why I was absent, kind of dealing with that. And then, of course, the dog. Um, that was just devastating. That's something, the dog was with me for 10 and a half years, every stinking day, unless I was traveling, and missed him terribly, just beyond missing him. But then I just realized I couldn't have an empty household. I live alone, and having an empty house was just too much for me. So I did find another dog, and in that process, the thought bubble went over my head. People who adopt humans, they're either crazy or like this is a leap of faith.
Mhm.
Like just such a leap of faith. So, we're talking about our own adoption stories, but just from the perspective of adopting a dog of all things. And I've done it before, but I hadn't thought so much about adoption in general. Just thinking about a human getting another human, that back in the day when we were adopted, you didn't choose your human. The agency chose them for you. So it was a how 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 brave, um, if the motivation is truly to give someone a home, which is beautiful. I know there's all sorts of controversy about some of the adoption process for sure, but if the motivation is pure and the process is, above board, then good Lord, how brave are these people,
Mm.
in adopting another human that they have no idea. They have no idea. And that baby has no idea either. Yeah, I don't know.
But things are going well with the new
Yes,
dog.
the new dog. I mean, he's going to be a good boy. He's going to be a good dog because we are going to work on this.
He's right next to you, isn't he?
He just walked away. He literally just walked away as I was talking about that. I'm like, oh, sorry, dude.
Oh.
My faith is with you, kid. you know.
Uh,
I have
well,
faith. I have faith.
and we
Yeah.
we are both such animal people, and I know how much that absolutely it hurts so bad. It's horrible. And we just had the
Yeah.
2-year anniversary of our boy, and I
Uh,
still just tear up all the time about him. And
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
And just like
oh,
both of those deaths happening within the same day, I mean, I couldn't feel
right.
anything
Yeah.
really. I cried, but I didn't feel like it was sufficient. That first 24 hours after, I was just like, tears are coming out of my eyes, but I'm like not feeling the full impact of this yet. I knew that. And did we talk that day after? I like it's a blur.
We spoke the evening of the funeral. So at
Oh,
the
okay.
same
Okay. So
time,
that was like 3 or 4 days later. That was four
right.
days later. Yeah. Yeah. So I'd had some time, but
Yeah, you definitely have, because this is a sharp contrast to how you were feeling at the time. But, of course,
oh,
the raw feelings were coming out at that point in time. So,
I'm sure. I can't even imagine what I was sounding like. Full on drama. Oh, God. Yeah. I mean, I was racked that when I finally started feeling I was just racked.
right.
Racked. I mean, I'd get through work, I'd go to work. And first, I'm going to say how grateful I am to the people in my life for reaching out to me and providing me sympathy and comfort, because I couldn't have gotten through it without the phone calls, the texts, the emails, the cards. I mean, literally, that helped so much just to know that people maybe not. I learned firsthand just saying, I'm sorry for your loss is enough. That is enough. Um, People sometimes don't know what to say. Just knowing that you're there and thinking of me, that's enough.
Yeah.
You can't fix it, but knowing that you're there to catch me, it was, that helped hugely, hugely, hugely. So I can't thank people enough for just reaching out. Um, but I did have a couple of situations where I'm like, wow, okay, I'm going to have to forgive you. I'm going to have to forgive you and just move on. I went to work the day after my dad's funeral, and one of my coworkers just sat down next to me and said, wow, yesterday was so hard when you weren't here. Oh, it was so busy.
What?
And I just, yeah, like completely either forgetting or thinking, I don't know. I don't know what she was thinking. But I just looked at her and I said, a very passive aggressive part of me came out. And I looked at her and I'm like, I buried a relative yesterday, so that was really hard for me too. And then she just went, oh, and looked at her computer and didn't say another word. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to have to forgive you in my brain.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's a moment of someone was clearly not thinking things through before the word left.
Right. And that's what I really think. Like,
Yeah.
she just, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've done things like that before too. Where you're just like going about your business and you completely forget
Yeah.
what somebody else has gone through. And you're like, oh shit, I stepped in it.
Yeah.
But my usual response is to say, oh shit, I stepped in it. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But I'm like, God, I was calm.
Yeah.
Just periods of growth where you're like, yeah, all right, whatever you're going through isn't rocking my world. Yeah.
Well, January 2021 is
Yeah.
coming to a close.
Yay.
We're recording on the 31st.
Yes.
So tomorrow will be a new month, and we're
It will
definitely
be.
hoping that things aren't quite so. I want everything to be pretty boring, actually. Just want there to
Yeah.
be some time of just. No, I don't want to say normalcy, but I want to say just kind of dull. I would welcome that.
I know. I'm all for dull right now. I do want to share something positive that has nothing to do with adoption, but you could
Yay.
turn it into an adoption project.
Okay.
You can there is something called the 100-Day Project, and I think you can find it online. There's 100-day ukulele songs, there's 100-day guitar, there's 100-day whatever project you want to create. Something that you want to just dive into a little bit each day,
Hmm.
and post either privately to yourself, keep a journal, post online. There's 100-day ukulele is definitely online and people can join and post things. It doesn't mean you have to post every day. It just means you yourself try to stay honest and participate at home in some way. So my project is going to be training the dog, me and the dog bonding and training, 100-day focus on that. But I think it's a really neat idea to try to focus on something for 100 days in a row.
And what's it called one more time?
100-day project.
100.
And you can find you can find subgroups. So you can do 100-day whatever you're interested in. You can kind of Google that and head in that direction. I think they're both on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
What's the other platform? I always forget.
Twitter.
Twitter. There may be a Twitter account too. I don't know. But you can, just 100-day project and then branch out from there. But I'm kind of excited about this because um, it just helps you focus,
Hmm.
and there's an end. It's 100 days, so roughly a little over 3 months.
So it keeps you accountable, and
Keeps
there's
you
an
accountable, keeps you focused, and
end
there's an
game
end
to
point.
it. Yeah.
Hmm. Yep.
If I'm definitely going to investigate this because I feel like I need a focus and
Yeah. So, yeah, for like adoptees, if you're thinking about searching,
mhm,
it's your 100-day project. You read a little bit about it, you write a letter here, you make an inquiry there, but each day you focus a little bit on your search.
hmm,
That's a possibility.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm kind of a fan of setting a goal and sticking to it, and I've been lousy at it this month.
Well, me
Lousy,
me
horrible.
too. Me too. So like somebody was talking about this. Oh, I was talking to a friend about it last night, and she's like, "Yeah, it's not just the ukulele. It's whatever you're interested in." And she's the one who said, "Focus on your dog." I'm like, "That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea."
Oh, I love that,
Hmm.
especially with the animal because they don't come with an instruction manual. And a
Oh
lot
my
of
goodness,
people
no.
think, oh, why isn't this dog behaving for me? Well, the dog has a personality of its own, and you can't just
Right. And a
expect it
history
to
that
fit
you
your
can't
mold.
decipher. Yeah.
Great. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that you're investing the time and the energy into him. Oh, and he's adorable, everybody, by the way. He's adorable.
I'll
Oh,
put his picture on Facebook.
well,
Why not?
okay, and
Yeah.
then share it with me. I'll put it
I
on
will. I
future
will.
platforms. Which, by the
Yeah.
way, I guess we should mention. I am not great at social media. I'm not really even a big fan of it, but to get the word out about things, you need
Mm-hmm.
to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my awkwardness, I may or may not get back to people. So,
Oh,
um,
right, right.
it's just I don't know. I come from the age of I didn't need to document everything in my life. So then I forget to check it for that purpose. So I'm trying to get better about that. It's not going to be my
Right.
100-day project, but I will
Yeah.
still try to get better.
Right. So there's a couple of listener letters, right,
Yes.
that you want to either do a mini episode or of both of them together or an episode of both of them together or separate. But they're
Yes.
coming.
I've,
So
yes. I've got the
don't,
stories here. I did not
yeah.
forget about them. We have some other
Great.
podcasters that want to collaborate with us in some way,
Great.
shape, or form. And
Great.
January was just kind of that rough and tumble part of beginning of the year. And now I feel like, okay, let's get our footing and move forward. And we're hoping that February will be a better month for focus, right?
Right, right. Yeah. I guess the only thing I learned was that, yes, I felt like my world got rocked, but I'm on steady footing through the people who care and who I care about. So thank you again to everyone. Rest in peace to the two dear beings that were lost.
Absolutely. Ugh. Well, I didn't know your dad, but I met the dog a couple of times,
Mm-hmm.
and he was
Mm-hmm.
a sweet one. So
Yeah.
I'm just glad
Yeah.
that you're feeling better and stronger, and I'm glad that you are able to care for a new soul that needs you. So
Mm.
take some comfort in that.
And I need him. So,
Yes.
so there. Ah. Well,
Well,
good to talk to you.
it's
Thanks for
I
listening.
know it's awesome to talk to you again, and
Yeah.
at some point we will I don't know, socially distance visit or something. I
Yeah.
know we've
Yeah.
been doing this for a while, but yeah,
I know.
we just hit our 4-month anniversary of this podcast.
Oh, wow.
I know, four
Okay.
months. So happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yay, 4 months of the adoption squad.
Yay.
So yeah, I guess that wraps up
Oh,
episode 21, everybody. And, thank you, Annie, for sharing your story with us. And I'm sure everybody out there listening is definitely pulling for you and your new boy in your house. So thanks
thanks.
for
Thanks.
sharing everything today. So, listeners, if you would like to share your story, please write to the adoption squad at gmail.com. Feel free to remain anonymous if you wish. You can also visit our website, theadoptionsquad.com, to see all of the updates, connect to our social media pages and our YouTube channel. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and review to help us grow. So until next time, word to your mothers.
And to your fathers.
Mm,
Mm.
Bye,
All
everybody.
right. Bye.